controversy in 2015, specifically in football and athletics. Kendal Makgamathe is here to unpack some of what to expect in 2016. Kendal, thanks for joining me.
No, it's a pleasure. I really am enjoying the fact that you're interviewing me today.
One day you'll get to interview me. Now, Kendal, let's look at the FIFA presidential election. I mean, I know that the vote is happening on the 26th of February. What can we expect there, considering what's been happening with that scandal?
Well, the FIFA scandal is pretty much what precipitated the fact that we have to have a new president voted in. As most people will remember, Sepp Blatter was voted in as a new president, or to carry on as president of FIFA. The scandal broke. All of a sudden, he's one of the people that are being charged. And before you know it, he's actually pulled out and said he's not going to be, he's going to be resigning his post, and hence this particular election. Well, we've got Tokyo Sexwale, Prince Ali bin Al Hussein from Jordan.
And that's something that I wanted to look at.
Yeah.
What are the chances that Tokyo might get this? Does he even stand a chance?
Well, I think it's very important that we talk about who he's up against, because Tokyo Sexwale, South Africans will know, he's a well-known business person with political ties. He was on Robben Island with Nelson Mandela for quite some time.
Yeah, so he makes sense here at home.
Absolutely.
But worldwide, does he make sense?
He makes sense worldwide because he's known. He's actually been privy to negotiations between the Palestinian football authorities as well as Israeli football authorities in terms of getting access for the Palestinians to soccer facilities and so on and so forth. So he's very well known. He's also very well known for the anti-racism campaign that he's been busy on. So yes, they know him. But he's also up against Gianni Infantino, who's the current Deputy Secretary General of UEFA. We know that Michel Platini, he's also in the same boat as Blatter, suspended for 8 years. He's fighting it up against Prince Ali bin Al Hussein from Jordan, as well as Jerome Champagne and Salman Al Khalifa from Bahrain. The big challenges are Jerome Champagne, who's been in the mix for FIFA for a long time at the top levels, as well as Prince Ali bin Hussein. Those are the big ones.
What kind of support is Tokyo getting from the African continent? Let's look at that.
It's actually quite interesting that you asked that, because he's one of the candidates that are going through to canvass in West Africa right now. So there's been a lot of lobbying, like you'll find in American politics. There's been a lot of lobbying, and he's doing that along with everybody else. So it's very hard to say just yet. We will find out as time goes, as people start voicing who it is they're going to be backing. But I do believe that he's got a good chance to get in there. He's going in on a reformist, as well as on a reformist platform, as well as it's Africa's chance now. And people are hoping, South Africans are hoping, that he gets in on that count. However, we've got Jerome Champagne, who's also a reformist, and he's also been in our FIFA exec for much longer. So it's going to be quite interesting to see what comes out towards the end of January prior to that February date.
Well, we're hoping he does get it, and he seems confident. Every time he speaks about it, he seems confident, but he has to. Let's shift focus to the Rio Olympics. That's a big one for this year. How is South Africa looking there in terms of preparations?
Well, South Africa's looking as good as it can. Having said that, we're expecting medals in athletics now, all of a sudden. Akani Simbini, Anaso Jobodwana coming in third behind those two big names. We're talking about we're talking about Usain Bolt. I mean, Usain Bolt won that 200 meter, and Justin Gatlin got second, and Anaso Jobodwana got third. So expecting something from him. And of course, wait for Niekerk. He's the world champion in the 400 meters. And not to forget our swimmers, Karen van der Berg, Chandler Clough, maybe even a Miles Brown, we don't know, as well as our sevens team, the under 23 football team, and the women's team. So it's all up in the air. We're expecting a good performances from South African athletes this year.
Kendal, there's always this worry that we do well at the World Championships, the IAAF tournament, etc. And then when it comes to the really big stuff, like the Olympics, for example, we kind of just dwindle down. Is that sentiment still there, or is it looking good for us? It's
absolutely looking very good, because I can tell you what, that last year Beijing was intensely competitive, and the guys that actually made the headlines, the people that I'm speaking about that competed there, did it on their own merit. They worked very hard. We know that the high performance centers, for example, in South Africa, specifically in Pretoria, has been working very closely with the Venda Nils and the LJ Van Sales, and they've qualified because of qualification times. But I can tell you this, we're looking forward to some golds and silvers from the South African team this year.
Now, transformation was a massive story last year. I mean, we saw the uproar just before the Rugby World Cup, to be specific. How is it looking in 2016? Do you think that, the Department of Sports and Recreation is going to come out again and say these are the initiatives that we're doing, and also looking at the different sports, specifically rugby?
Well, I can tell you transformation is going to stay big in South Africa for the longest time. Transformation in rugby was the one that hit the big scorecard, as well as currently cricket. There's been a lot of talk about how cricket South Africa is moving along towards getting the right balance and right mix in the team. Some people say it gets in the way of performances. Some people say it's actually the future, to make sure that there's a proper balance, to get a right mix, so you get a right culture going on in the team. I do believe that the transformation targets that agreed to the Big Five in South African sports by the Minister of Sports, as well as all these other sporting codes, is something to look forward to. I think they're all working towards it. We'll see how it goes over the next year, but I think everybody's serious about it now, and within the next 5 years, I think we'll see real changes.
Are the targets realistic? Are they starting from the bottom up? Because it's one thing to complain about the national team, but where are we getting the players?
That's just it. About this particular transformation targets, I can tell you that they're working really hard, and we're starting at grassroots, building it up from there. For example, one of the big things that Fikile Mbalula talks about is how in Eastern Province they've started a rugby academy and building it from there and going forward. So I think they're going in the right direction.
Kendal, thank you so much for this.
No, that's been very good.
That was our sports anchor, Kendal Makgamathe, giving us what to expect in the sporting world this year. Now it's time for a quick break.